We know the Winter Queen is going to become relevant again. All of this stuff about Elune, she's obviously related to Elune. We learned all that lore back in the shitty expansion that was Shadowlands. Now, there was some lore that carried over from there into this expansion, unfortunately. But some of this Elune stuff is actually some of the better stuff they wrote. So let's think about this. The Winter Queen's cosmetic spirit and Naaru Order of the Afterlife. What is this? What has Xal'atath discovered about the afterlife here, and how it might be related to Elune, the Winter Queen, the Naaru, and everything else? Here we go. Let's get into this.
What is the true nature of the Winter Queen? How exactly is she Elune's sister? For what purpose was she installed to the afterlife machine? And are the Shadowlands even the true realms of death? Welcome, heroes.
Oh man, I'm already excited. Imagine they retcon the Shadowlands out of being the true realm of death. Yeah, imagine Shadowlands. Oh, turns out Shadowlands is a fake death realm, not the real one. This is the real one. That one we're just gonna, that was a patch. We're just gonna get rid of it. Don't worry about it. Zoval who? Nipples who? Bald man who?
My name is Xal'atath, covering for our still MIA Knowledge Goblin. And today, we're touching on a mystery that challenges all that we think we...
I was going to say, his voice sounded different. So he's covering for the goblin who got taken away. He got, like, kidnapped at the end of the last video we watched, right? Yeah, funny.
...know about the Winter Queen, Elune, and the Eternal Ones. Sprawling into a deceptively simple question, what is the true nature of death in the Shadowlands? Our quest for answers will take us across the astral planes of the Twisting Nether to contemplating the calcified blue soul crystals of an ancient troll legend. Along the way, we'll connect the dots between Naaru's souls, the Winter Queen's mysterious cosmic spirit, and a conspiracy to imprison life itself in the so-called realm of death. Firstly, do Naaru
Sounds
have
good, Penchi.
souls? Back in Legion, when we were aiding the Prime Naaru Zera to revive Illidan's Stormrage, it would seem that she is able to communicate through a, quote, astral presence to the player character, even though her physical form is disassembled at the time.
True.
This
Yeah, oh man. So, like, the fact that she was disassembled and then reassembled, I feel like is proof that their body is more like a vessel than an actual, like, their actual essence, right? Because we've seen it many times before that Naaru can be, you know, taken apart, brought back together. I don't know if Zera can ever come back from the shattering that occurred to her when Illidan blasted her with his laser eyes. That might be the end of her. But all in all, we've seen Naaru many times get, you know, come back, reassembled. Oh, I'm back.
Raising. This may be a clue not only to how the Naaru think, but to what a soul is and where it comes from. Because in Warcraft, the primary astral dimension that we deal with is the Twisting Nether. The Nether is usually painted as a realm of instability and demonic influence, where evil lurks in uncounted forms. It is the realm that we know demon souls return to when slain, where their spirit regenerates and prepares to invade reality once again.
The Twisting Nether, yeah.
Now allow me to draw a comparison. Ardenweld and the Emerald Dream are realms where wild souls return to when slain, where their spirit regenerates and prepares to enter reality once again.
Right.
Curious how similar these systems of renewal are, no? But what if it's no coincidence?
So he's saying, hold on, let me look at this chart real quick. He's saying, okay, wild souls go through the cycle of life and death, which is the Emerald Dream / Ardenweald. And then demon souls, he's saying, go to Twisting Nether / well, it was Argus, but that was being used as an anchor to bring people back more quickly from the Twisting Nether, I think. So, yeah, I do see similarities here.
After all, druids are known for dealing in astral magics, so the nature of the Emerald Dream being that of an astral plane checks out. And of course, a shaman's astral recall spell yanks the caster through the Twisting Nether as a means of transportation. So what's the common denominator between druidism and shamanism in this regard? Spirit. If Draenei souls can be used by dark shamans and warlocks to power a portal through the Nether to another world, what does this tell us about the Twisting Nether and the key resources it deals in?
The Twisting Nether deals with souls and spirits as its power? Is that what he's hinting at? Because, yeah, I didn't think about it, but that's what Gul'dan did. He, you know, you got a portal through the twisting nether into Azeroth, right, from Draenor to Azeroth, and he used souls to power it. So,
when the player
Is that its
character's
fuel?
consciousness is projected to Xera's astral presence in the great dark beyond, does it stand to reason that our soul was yanked through the astral plane to her soul? Xera's astral presence functions independently of her disassembled physical form, and this distinction between corporeal and incorporeal existence is more than semantics, it's the very definition of what we call a soul. The Naaru may label it an astral presence to differentiate themselves from mortal souls they work with or consume, but the function is undeniably parallel. And if Naaru souls can exist beyond their bodies, can they also inhabit new vessels?
I don't see why not.
This is where I bring in Xal'atath. We know that she's not an old god because of Illyria's confirmation.
Yeah.
And I suspect that she may have in fact been some type of dark or void Naaru.
Yeah, he showed these images before, and it did blow my mind when he was showing her cape and stuff, and how it does have some Naaru-esque curvatures to it. Maybe she is a fallen Naaru. Yeah, look at that, even with this, with these points and stuff, all these geometric shapes on her cape and things.
Void Naaru before her spirit was trapped inside the
Solar?
blade of the Black Empire. You can check out the video on my channel for more clarification there. And if we guess that Xal'atath might be a Naaru based
Yeah, I mean, literally, you can even, like, just the way she has her hands out in that previous image compared to what this Naaru looks like, there are a lot of similarities. This could totally be like the outline of a Naaru. Look at the dots right here, the dots above her shoulders. Yeah, I don't think that's that far of a stretch, honestly.
And if we guess that Xal'atath might be a Naaru based on
Fallen
her subtle
Archon.
visual cues and, more importantly, her behavior and functions, then allow me to take things a step further and ask you, what about the Winter Queen? If Xal'atath is revealed to be a disembodied Naaru spirit, then suddenly a precedent is set for us to explore whether or not this has happened before.
Right, her horns do look.
So let's roll
If you look at her horns,
back to Shadowlands.
they do look very Naaru-esque if you kind of look at the curvatures and stuff of that. Oh, even the cape here, too.
And ask, what's the deal with the Eternal Ones and their so-called cosmic spirits? The Dungeon Journal profile for the prototype Pantheon boss fight in the Sepulchre of the First Ones reads as follows, quote, bereft of the cosmic spirits of the Eternal Ones, these incomplete host bodies can only carry out their base directives without mercy or compassion. So, just what are these cosmic spirits? Were they created or captured? And is there anything special about an Eternal One in the first place? For this answer, we can look to Pelagos, a simple mortal that we meet in Bastion and doesn't even qualify as a proper Kyrian.
Can I just say, Pelagos was a poorly written character. I feel like there could have been so much more story-driven stuff with Pelagos. I don't know. He had some good moments, but all in all, he became like the Archon at the end and everything. It's just it just felt random, like he was an underdeveloped character to become the Archon. Just tuning back in with my coffee break. Stoked to see you are giving it a watch. Yeah, Zaxxas, so far, interesting stuff. All this Naaru stuff, it's always interesting to get into.
Yet, by the end of Shadowlands, our shy friend has ascended to the rank of Eternal One as the new Arbiter.
The Arbiter, that's right. He became the Arbiter. It's just the whole thing just feels like very, I don't know, pushed. Like all of a sudden, oh yeah, remember this guy that we had a couple quest lines with, did a couple things. But yeah, oh yeah, he's the Arbiter now. Okay.
If plain old Pelagos can do this, then why do we assume
And by the way, the whole thing about an Arbiter just feels very Titan-esque, doesn't it? Like so orderly. What does the Arbiter do? It facilitates the filtration of the souls to specific places, right? That it just feels like a Titan position. That's all. And it feels unnatural. So this whole thing of Pelagos is a good guy now, he's the Arbiter now, probably not good. He's probably actually working for the Titans now.
beings like Denathrius, the Archon, the Primus, and the Winter Queen as the Pantheon of Death are such high-level cosmic characters? What if, like Pelagos, they actually share much humbler origins? Focusing on the Winter Queen, her Automa vessel is named the Prototype of Renewal, and casts a few abilities aligned with Arcane, Nature, and Anima. On the other hand, the real Winter Queen, presumably a vessel that does contain her cosmic spirit, only casts one ability, Cosmic Starfall. Starfall is traditionally a druid
Druid
spell,
ability, yeah.
but it's inspired by Tyrande Whisperwind's hero ability in Warcraft 3, and Tyrande, a priestess of the moon, is no druid. There are exceptions though, and in classic WoW, Night Elf priests had a unique racial class ability named Star Shards, which is effectively Starfall for priests. The thread that connects these Night Elf priests and druids to stars is Elune,
Right.
supposed sister to the Winter Queen. You see, Elune isn't just a goddess tied to life, as she seems to be a focus in multiple cosmic domains. From the Emerald Dream and Ardenweald cycle to the divine light channeled by her sisterhood priestesses, her influence is felt across life, spirit, and light.
Interesting.
The two most mysterious entities in her orbit are the Naaru and the Winter Queen. The Winter Queen's visual flair offers subtle visual and behavioral nods to a Naaru identity.
Yeah, I was just saying that before he said it right now. The horns. Yeah, the horns look the curvatures of them look very Naaru-esque, don't they? Remember when players had Spirit too? Spirit, you're talking about the stat? Do they not have Spirit anymore? I don't know, because I focus so much, as a tank, I'm focused on stamina and things like that. Is Spirit no longer a secondary stat? That's interesting if it got removed. Judging souls would be worthy. Yeah, exactly. Sounds like something Odin would do. It's the stat. Yes. Yeah. Is it no longer a thing? Oh, wow. No, it's gone. Yeah. Interesting. We no longer have spirit.
Way her antlers
No more spirit in the game. Oh, wow.
curve and branch like silhouettes of Naaru eye sockets, giving her an almost crystalline symmetry. Her long draping moth wings are dotted with eye shapes and spread in a way reminiscent of Naaru's thinning
they are.
appendages. The Winter Queen's voice, booming and somber, carries a divine gravitas not unlike Zera. And
True.
even her domain of watching over dreaming spirits might mirror how Naaru commune with mortals through their dreams. So given that the Winter Queen is presented as a nature goddess, it's not that surprising or unusual that she's using an astral spell traditionally related with balanced druids. But it's hard for me not to question how a motif of stars, the subject of astrology and astronomy, might relate the Winter Queen's stellar spellcasting and cosmic spirit to the astral presence of Naaru like Zera, or an astral plane like the Twisting Nether. While
I
Naaru
did feel very astral. I mean, I spent a lot of time in this zone, in this room, because unfortunately for me, Ardenweald was like the best one for Blood Decays originally to go to because of what it did to your Death and Decay. It's whatever ability, Covenant ability was. And now that later switched. I eventually went over and I was able to go get Slappy Hands and stuff like that, right? So I was no longer... But I spent a lot of time in Ardenweald. And yes, Ardenweald of all the zones did feel the most astral. Right, it felt the most attached to like space and all that stuff. There was a lot of stars everywhere. The sky was very open. The skybox was very starry. And even here in the room,
the subject of astrology
you can see
and astronomy
as he
might
zooms
relate
out,
the Winter Queen's stellar spellcasting and
there was a
cosmic
lot of this. You see these right here, like these purple lines. There was a lot of these like weird astral like lines, like just starry looking lines that tied around everything. They're like vines almost, but like vines from the sky.
astral presence.
That's how I would describe
of
them.
Naaru
They were
like
everywhere.
Zera.
You can see even better right here. Yeah, there's one right here too. If I move my face, yeah, you can see them all right here. They're kind of like I described them.
Presence of
Starry
Naaru
vines
like Zera,
right
or
here.
an astral plane like the Twisting Nether.
Interesting.
While Naaru are not known to cast stellar or astral-themed offensive spells, further research shows that holy Naaru are not really known for having any offensive abilities, outside of Zorali's anguished cries in Revendreth. But the origins of the Naaru may well tie to the stars themselves.
Shards
Chronicle
of
tells
Elune.
us, quote, "The birth of the cosmos also flung shards of light throughout reality, and how, occasionally, clouds of fractured light gathered and gave shape to beings of far greater power, of far
Shards
greater
of Elune?
potential."
Shards of light. What does that sound like? Maybe the you ever seen like a big crystal maybe that's embedded in our planet? You know, big shard-like crystal, maybe in Hallowfall, something like that.
Light throughout reality, and how,
A new
occasionally,
crystal that we're
clouds
discovering
of
soon, too.
fractured light gathered and gave shape to beings of far greater power, of far greater potential. Those being the Naaru and Titans. I've argued before that this line about shards of light is about the closest thing to a description for what stars are in the Warcraft universe, especially when paired with that Night Elf priest racial named Star Shards. By this definition, it sounds like the Naaru's physical form may be pieces of these shards of light. Whether they were forged by orderly hands or a natural phenomenon is still up for debate. As well, you may remember in Legion when Archmage Khadgar successfully activated the heart of the Prime Naaru, using the Titan relic, the Tears of Elune. As he tells us, he found a clue indicating that the Naaru may have been created by Elune during the Great Ordering of Light and Shadow. Even the prophet Velen suggested that the light of Elune reminded him of a powerful Naaru. So, if the Winter Queen is a sister of Elune, maybe it's not too far-fetched to consider a Naaru as her original form after all. In Shadowlands, the Primus tells us, quote, the Winter Queen is bound to her counterpart in the realms of life. And many have taken this to mean that Elune is this counterpart, bound somewhere within the Emerald Dream.
Right.
While I'm not so sure of this two-way binding myself, one could speculate that both the Winter Queen and another Naaru, or even Elune herself, are originally light-based Naaru-like entities who have been bound into servitude by the Makers, forced to maintain and protect life within the afterlife.
Interesting.
And it begs the question, is Shadowlands death magic even real death? Or is it the spirit of life, preserved eternally, undying and undecaying, protected from the end of all things, and used as fuel in the meantime?
Protected from the true, it's like it's catching the souls as they fall to where they're truly supposed to fall, the real afterlife. And he's right, like what were they being used for in all of these zones? It was fuel, right? And when a lot of the souls were going to the maw and not being properly used, what was happening to this whole entire realm? It was dying, right? The whole realm was dying. Interesting that a realm of death could die. And if that realm dies, where does it go? Right? I think he's getting at that. And that was always interesting to me too. Like, yeah, how could a realm of death be dying? That doesn't make any sense. Then if it dies, what happens? The soul is lost forever? Like we know that Arthas, right? What happened to him? Supposedly his soul is completely used up, turned into a little wisp, faded away. Where did he go? Is he just gone forever? Even Garrosh. Garrosh had his heroic moment in the raid, right? He'll never be a slave, fucking jumped up, did his thing, badass moment, turned into dust. What happened? Where'd he go after that? Do people keep going anywhere? They just disappear forever. And if they go somewhere else, is that the real death realm? Then what is this? Some kind of fake-ass death realm? A lot of questions, not a lot of answers.
Well, that's a whole can of worms unto itself. So, as we wrap up, allow me to present one final piece of this Naaru and Winter Queen puzzle. The new cosmetic offhand item, Sermons of the Naaru, was added in patch 11.05 and is sold by the Anniversary vendors.
Okay.
This tome, at first druidic in appearance with its wooden cover and leafy corners, interestingly enough has a bright sigil of a blue Naaru on it, with deeper blue gems set into the frame. Considering the mission of the Naaru that we've seen in-game and heard about in Chronicle, that is, to protect and nurture life wherever they found it, it's no surprise again that we might find them involved in the lighter sides of druidic practice. But is this book perhaps telling us more? Let's talk about blue Naaru and holy blue crystals for a minute. In Stranglethorn Vale, there is an item called the First Troll Legend, which tells us of a holy blue crystal protecting the eternal spirits of their fallen brethren. Titled A Moon Over the Vale, the legend reads, quote, "A moon over the vale shines, casting its glow upon the jungle, where proud warriors heed the call to defend our nation and sacred grounds. A moon over the vale shines, far above the cries of battle, where blood is spilled of foe and comrade alike. And when our brethren pass into the realms beyond the known, the soul spirit hardens deep beneath the veil. And when our brethren pass into the mountain's temple, we shall protect their eternal spirit, encased within the holy blue crystal."
Interesting. So when they die, they turn into blue crystal.
So what is this blue crystal? What is the mountain's temple? And how fascinating is it that the soul spirit is described to harden much like a soul gem? The legend reads in a way as if one of the moons is closer and inspires the warriors, while one stays afar and bleakly sees the bloodshed on both sides. But which is which? Azeroth's moons are the White Lady and the Blue Child. And considering that this holy blue crystal is given significance alongside a moon, I'd be willing to bet that it's the blue child that correlates to the troll's afterlife domain, referred to as the Mountain's Temple, which we may know as the Other Side, seen in Ardenweld, and is a subsection of the Winter Queen's domain. Some of
wasn't that
Azeroth's
an
first
instance, the
recorded
Other Side?
followers of Elune were actually dark trolls, who crept from the jungle thickets and found the Well of Eternity, communing with the goddess of the moon, who they believed slept within the well. Though we might compare these blue crystals to a relic like the Tears of Elune, they may not necessarily be of the moon's origin.
Okay.
Because also found in Stranglethorn Vale, there's a cave called Crystal Vein Mine. Here, basilisks eat the crystals, and a quest has the player gather items called Singing Blue Crystal. Could it be that the ancient trolls had access to something, or somewhere, from within these caves that we fail to perceive today? Khazalgar's Haranir and their mystical hidden homeland certainly comes to mind, with its potential links to the astral nature of the Emerald Dream.
I mean, it wouldn't be surprising if we found connections between the Haranir and the trolls. I mean, they're literally, one for one. They seem to be connected to each other in that way, and that they are, what's it called, the missing link or whatever, the troll to night elf link. So a connection between them, that would be an interesting thing. And a connection that they knew about before we did even.
So what does this have to do with Naaru? Recently, we've seen Titan records indicating that there are crystals within Azeroth claimed to be the calcified essence of the world soul. And this mirrors the troll's legend of the soul spirit hardening into the earth. While I don't believe that Beledar is necessarily made of the same crystal substance that the Arathi's keyflames are, it is curious that there is a giant, seemingly Naaru-aligned temple ship jammed into the mountainous deep. And Naaru are no strangers to dealing in souls and spirits after all. It seems to me that Beledar's arrival likely wounded the world, seeping out its spirit-filled lifeblood and crystallizing, as Titan blood often does in the few examples we've seen.
Right.
These calcified chunks...
But Azeroth's blood clearly, that's calcified, whatever, soul remains or blood or whatever, is clearly different than what we see in Hallowfall with the blue tinges to it and stuff. So, I mean, that's... Which is why I always thought, like, is the blue maybe voidy stuff? Maybe Blizzard is trying to hint that our world soul is kind of made up of a little bit of both, whereas Beledar is strictly, light-based. It's very much just all yellow. It's more pure-looking than what we see with Azerite.
Seen. These calcified chunks of
all
the
by
world
design?
soul's essence have been utilized and shaped for many purposes by the Titanforged and Arathi alike, as we see many little gold crystal torches across Khazalgar built by the Earthen. The Beacon of Tyrhold also comes to mind. The correlation between the Arathi keyflames, Azerite, and Beledar may be explained by the understanding provided by the troll's legend of soul spirit hardening into crystals, and give us a sly clue to how the first shards of light at the beginning of the cosmos may have come to be. Like with all of the Shadowlands, the Winter Queen is more than meets the eye. And you might be asking, if the Winter Queen has a Naaru soul, why isn't she casting holy or light magic spells? The answer to this goes deep into how much of a construct the Realms of Death truly are.
Look at this thing. Look at this fucking sky dildo, and tell me this isn't a Titan-esque creation. It's literally sucking all the souls in, right? And then shooting them out in specific directions, whereas a more natural... This doesn't look like a natural flow of things. It really doesn't. And then you got the leakage here, the little anal leakage into the maw that's going out the bottom. But otherwise, this all looks very much like a filtration process that seems highly unnatural. Like, this construct could not have been here for all time since the beginning of time, since the beginning of souls. So what were things supposed to be like before this thing was put in place?
Magics are even being used there.
Questions.
Anima, the so-called death magic we deal with in Shadowlands, is spirit, mana, energy reaped by a machine, life
Maybe
as
stoic.
fuel for an engine. True forms of death, like decay and destruction, are entirely shunned within the Shadowlands. What we see instead may just be spirit magic, a preservation and manipulation of life essence, and the very opposite of death's natural entropy. The death magic of the Shadowlands doesn't destroy, it repurposes.
That's
this
true.
so-called realm of death may not be about real death at all. It's about spirit locked in perpetual, eternal life.
Yeah, eternal servitude.
What if the Winter Queen, this sister of Elune, is no true goddess of death after all? Her stellar spellcasting, methods used within her astral realm, and her role in the renewal of wild souls reveal her intentions as a Naaru agent, nurturing life and the spirits that spring from it. Whether she was a shard of Elune herself, or shaped by the Makers as a servant to the undying cycle of life, the Winter Queen may not embody the shadow of mortality, but instead is a warden over life within the afterlife, preserving spirit in a prison of Order's design. Because, as they tell us, life is chaos, and it must be controlled. Heroes, this is just...
An afterlife would also... If life is chaos, you would expect the afterlife to be the same. Right? Why would the afterlife be so orderly if life in its natural form is not that way? Now, even if life and death are opposites of each other, you wouldn't expect things to change in such a drastic direction. Now, clearly, I think, you make a good point, Stoic, maybe whoever created the Titans, whatever the force is that creates them, whatever there is in that arcane realm that orders everything besides the Titans or beyond the Titans, could be the thing that created that Shadowlands little sifter there and stuff. But all of it just seems unnatural. It always did.
That's the beginning of a paradigm-shifting theory that I'm working on in collaboration with fellow Warcraft enthusiast Pyromancer,
Ooh.
as we delve deeper into the origins of life itself.
Oh, they're doing a collab?
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Knowledge Wars, where the truth isn't just out there, it's polymorphed in layers of anima shrouds and titan machinery. Remember, you are the resistance to the Maker's soul matrix. Now, we have a goblin to save.
Are we going to save him in the next patch? That's the question. Nice video. Another great one from Xal'atath, of course, as always. And interesting thoughts. Look, Shadowlands lore, it was what it was. It's not going away, but it's also not the forefront anymore. So if it sits there in the background, and what would be, a good way for Blizzard to kind of push it off and say, you know what, Shadowlands was what it was, but it wasn't real. What better way would there be to kind of push Shadowlands to the side and to say that? Right, that it wasn't the true afterlife. It's not what afterlife is supposed to be. It's this was like a slavery afterlife. That's what Shadowlands always seemed like, which is true. And I did hear through the grapevine about Pyromancer's conversations on this, and that some souls never showed up in the afterlife from what we've seen, right, in the Shadowlands afterlife. Depending on how they died, depending on where they went, there's some interesting things about that. Obviously, demons themselves never go to the afterlife. You never saw a demon in the Shadowlands. They always went to the Twisting Nether. That's where their soul's attached. So why is it that only one afterlife seems more orderly? And by the way, the Twisting Nether, when we got, what's it called? Argus in there, that almost acted like an ordering of the Twisting Nether. Oh, surprise, surprise. That was put there by a Titan, right? The Mad Titan. So if you got Argus ordering the Twisting Nether and bringing their souls, demon souls, back to our plane of existence more quickly, why couldn't the same have happened in the Shadowlands with our souls? Same shit. Opposite factions. Opposite ends of the spectrum, but same shit. Yeah, anyone killed by the Fel we can't find. Yeah, that's the thing. Where's everybody who was killed by the Fel? It's interesting. Now, King Varian did show up. And how, and he kind of got exploded by Gul'dan, so I don't know how that all plans out. But maybe Sylvanas was right until she was manipulated by Zoval. Yeah, maybe she was onto something until then. Interesting video. We could talk about this for hours, but a nice one from Xal'atath.